So today I was reading Project Hail Mary and I saw this wonderful funny line in it. A computer asked the author that what is the cube root of 8, and the author, to check the computer's intelligence, says 2 times e to the 2I pi, and the computer says incorrect. And that shows that the computer was totally dumb. But for me this was quite interesting because I forgot that what actually complex numbers were. We studied about them in class 11th, and now I had a little question in my mind that what exactly are complex numbers. So in this video I'm going to discuss with you the short notes I've made from the days of my JEE preparation, and here they are. So let's study complex numbers today. So now I'm going to show the short notes I made during my JEE preparation, and the first point I have written here is in plus I power n plus 1 plus I power n plus 2 plus I power n plus 3 is equals to 0. How does this happen? Okay, so now let me tell you the basics. What does I mean? So I is actually equal to root of minus 1. What is I? I is actually a imaginary number, and this actually simplifies a lot of calculations. If you are confused, then let me tell you by an example. Let's say we have a question that says x cube equals to 1. So here if I ask you what are the possible values of x, you can say x equals to 1. But what are the other two values? Because x power 3 means that x can have 3 possible values. So to find the other 3 values, we need to have the knowledge of complex numbers. Or if we ask a 10th or 9th class student that what is the solution to this, so he may say that okay, I can apply the formula minus b plus root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. So if we apply this formula here, so we'll see minus 1, here we can say plus minus of b square, that is 1, minus 4 ac will be 1. So here we'll have a lot of ambiguity, we can say, because here we get minus 1 minus 3 actually inside a root. So he actually, we will say in 10th or 9th class that the question has no solution, but actually it has a solution. It has imaginary solution that we read. And what is imaginary solution? This is imaginary solution. To solve this problem, we can write this as minus 1 root into 3, and this we can write as iota. So this whole term becomes minus 1 plus minus root 3 iota by 2. This will eventually mean omega and omega square. But now that you know the basics, we'll move on to the first point. If we write this equation, what does this mean? Iota, that is root of minus 1. Well, root of minus 1 is not a thing which we can calculate. So from now on, I'll say I. So I plus I square. I square is actually minus 1 only, if you can see it. I power 3 is minus I, and I power 4 is 1. You can calculate using minus 1 if you want. And if you will calculate it further, this cancels by this and it becomes 0. Subsequently, if you add this in multiples of, let's say adding 4, if you have this power as 1, as 5, as 9, this power as 2, 6, 10, and subsequently if you have any power like n, and I n plus 1 and I n plus 2, I n plus 3, it will become 0. And that is what this formula says. These all short notes are very important for JEE Advanced. Next is inequality of imaginary numbers is meaningless. So what does this exactly mean? So if we write that 32i and 72i, which one is greater? We cannot tell it because applying any equality is totally invalid in complex numbers. You can't compare them. Next, I have written the multiplicative and additive, identity and inverse. So identity means what we can multiply so that the number becomes equal to itself. But before that, you need to know what exactly z in complex numbers means. So z we can use for any imaginary number to define it, to generalize it. Okay. So if we have any integer like 2, 3, 4, I can say that these are integers. But if I write 2 plus 7, 5, this is not an integer, this is not a natural number. So what this is, I can say it is a real number. And to represent real numbers, we use a sign that is z. The general form of z is equals x plus iota y. This means that any complex number in this world that exists can be written in this form. So if I tell about multiplicative and additive inverse, next we have multiplicative and additive inverse. So as I've explained what is z, you can see that identity means the complex number which we need to multiply so that we get the same number, and inverse means obviously that we get 0. So next, this is a formula which you need to learn. It helps a lot. It's very important in JEE preparation. 1 plus I upon 1 minus I is equals to I. How do we get it? We just multiply by 1 plus I on numerator and denominator side. Fifth point is, if z is purely real, then z minus z bar. What does this bar mean? This bar means conjugate. So if z is x plus iota y, z bar means x minus iota y. The iota changes into minus iota. And also this is the real part of the complex number, and this is the imaginary part of the complex number. This whole iota is something that means that it is imaginary. So if it is purely real, then there will be no such thing as this, and z minus z naught. That means x plus iota y minus x plus iota y is equals to 0. If this is not present, then it will definitely be equal to 0. That's quite obvious. And if it's purely imaginary, then z plus z naught is equal to 0. These are the things which you need to have on your tips of your hand. Next, z plus z2 whole bar is equals to z1 plus z2 bar. That's also a identity. And likewise this, and these all are identities which you need to learn, that are very very important. Quickly, I'll jump to the main ingredients, and I'll give this notes as PDF format in description. If you want them, you can comment down. Yeah, this is actually what we call, in teachers we have Cartesian plane, but we have Argand plane. So what does Argand plane mean? It means that on the x-axis we put all the real numbers, and on the y-axis we put all the imaginary numbers. It's a way of describing complex numbers on a graph. So we'll learn about it, but just you need to know that while finding the angle, we just make sure that we have the right angle. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. We'll know it afterwards. Polar form and Euler form are two ways, and this is the way our author of that book described it. So if you write in Euler form 2ei 2 pi, what does this mean? 2 means r, the constant value. E to power I into 2 pi. What does this mean? 2 pi means theta, and 2 pi is actually equal to 0. If you see on graph, so e to power I into 0 means 1, and it's equals to 2 only. If I give you more knowledge about this, you can read from my notes. These are some very important identities. These are same as log, so these are like exactly same what we call as log. This is a very important identity, has many use cases. Square root of root, then this does not have many use cases. You can learn if you want. This is not as much important as anything else. Cube roots of unity, like we have shown, we can show this like this, and this I also showed you the roots. What is omega and what is omega square? Properties of omega. Omega and omega square are reciprocal and conjugate of each other. Omega is equals to e raised by I to power 3. We can show omega in Euler form and this Argand plane. Complex in quadratic. If one root is complex, other will be complex conjugate. This is a very important property. Likewise, I have written all the important properties. Here you can see finding roots of x to power n, e equal to iota theta. And this is the solution to this problem. How does this work? Well, you'll know, you'll find out. X cube minus y cube is equals to x minus y omega x plus square. These are very, very important properties. I mean, I've given a lot of time writing them. Well, my JEE preparation is over, and I've got selected in IIT. So yeah, this is something you can take help of. Argument 1 by z naught is equals to argument. This helps a lot. Nth root of unity. This is something. All roots lie on circle. Yeah, here it is. Here are all the properties. You can see them. But before leaving, I just want to talk you about a thing that is like quite. You may have listened that what is the most amazing equation of maths? That is e raised to power I pi equal minus 1. This is the most amazing equation of maths. But why is this most amazing one? Because it contains e, that is from logarithm, I, that is from complex numbers, pi, that is an irrational number, and also represents the angles, and minus 1, that is a integer. So crazy enough, this has 4 different aspects of math, and when in ancient times anyone just declared this equation, it was a total like mind-bending moment for people. How is this true? If you ask me, let me explain you. If you have anything on angle 0 or 2 pi, e raised to power I 0 I 2 pi becomes equals to 1, that we all know. If we have e raised to power I pi, that will become minus 1. On if we have, sorry, this is pi by 2. If we have e raised to power pi by 2, does not become minus 1. Sorry for the mistake. It'll actually become e raised to power I. It'll actually become I only. How? Let's convert it into polar form. So what does polar form say? Polar form says that r e raised to power I theta is equals to r of cos theta plus I sin theta. So if you write r as 1 and theta as pi, so what do you get? 1 into cos pi is minus 1, and sin pi is 0, so this gets cancelled and you get minus 1. But what if you have pi by 2 here? So pi by 2 gives cos theta 0 and sin theta as 1. So e raised to power I pi by 2 is actually iota only. And if you have 3 pi by 2, so it will be minus I. How? You can see from here, sin theta gets minus 1, I gets minus I. So I have many shortcuts, many short tricks. Also, like if you want, I can teach you how to draw graphs, how to convert graphs. Like if you have sin x, you can draw it. But if you have sine of mod x ka graph, how will you make it? So I can show you. Sine mod x means that at any value of x, whether it be minus, whether it be plus, the overall value will remain same. That means the graph will be like this on the right hand side and this on the left hand side. But what if I just take mod and put it here? Well, I just put a mod here. What does happen? To know this, you need to watch my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.